Hi, this is Alex Ducellier Muller, and welcome to Schooling Exercises, Episode 5. This is leg yields for connection and relaxation. For this episode, I'm riding Lark. She is a German riding pony, and she's on her second career. She's a little bit of a tricky ride. She was a hunter pony before I got her, and she definitely has some issues. She has some connection issues, some relaxation issues, and a lot of anger issues. So this is the first episode where I'm using a little bit less than desirable mount. So you can see a lot of flaws in this exercise for sure, but I kind of want to present a more realistic training methodology, if that makes sense. So far I've used Emmett, Fern, and Pixel, who are pretty straightforward mounts with no real connection issues. So I'm introducing Lark today as kind of a less than perfect example. You can see here in my warm-up she's quite tight. This is normal for her. She sometimes scores a 74, and sometimes we have to excuse ourselves from the ring because she is spinning in circles. So that's just kind of how it goes. This exercise is meant to improve the connection to the outside rein, and also to improve responsiveness and suppleness. So obviously you can see Lark needs this exercise, and I think this is a much more straightforward exercise than the last one I posted. I kind of try to alternate between lower level exercises and more advanced exercises. And this exercise today is for training level and up. So it's very straightforward, can be easily modified, but also is a really good exercise for upper level mounts in their warm-up. So the exercise I'm about to introduce is really helpful for horses like Lark who don't take pressure well, but it's also really helpful as a warm-up for upper level horses because it addresses both lateral and longitudinal suppleness. I also like to use it for young riders, for juniors who are just figuring out connection, because it kind of enforces the inside leg to outside rein connection and then gets the horses nice and forward into the hand, even if they don't really know what they're working towards. So I'll take you into the exercise now. I do ask that you all be kind in your comments. I'm kind of letting you guys observe the training on a horse that's quite difficult. And I know being a viewer on the internet entices people to be quite critical, but keep in mind that I'm letting you into some difficult training here. So in this exercise, we start out tracking right in the working trot. You're going to turn down the center line at C and leg yield off the right leg to B. So if that's too tricky, feel free to start at the quarter line and leg yield out. As soon as you touch the rail, you're going to do an up transition to canter. And the way I have the exercise written on the PDF is to do a 20-meter circle here. If that's too easy, or if you're warming up an upper level horse, feel free to make that circle a bit smaller. As I ride through this with Lark, I am making the circle progressively smaller as I repeat the exercise. As you finish that first circle and a quarter, you're going to do a down transition to trot, and then across your diagonal to M with a trot lengthen. So I think Lark trips here. Oh, yep, there we go. And our footing's a little uneven, so that's the trip there. And then at M, a transition back to working trot, down center line, and a leg yield off the left leg. So as I touch here at E, I'm going to canter and do a 20-meter circle in canter. So the point of the leg yield into the canter transition is to push the horse into the outside rein. With Lark, she gets quite tight, so I have to be really gentle about how I approach things. So the benefit of the leg yield for Lark is going to be that she gets more supple through the area right behind the saddle as she crosses her inside hind over. But it's going to take a minute to see that because she just gets tight and a little spooky and a little looky here at the beginning of the ride. So pushing her out into the trot length then opens up the step a little bit, and then here I bring the balance back. And so yeah, you can see she's pretty tight and looky at the beginning, and that's fine. I'm just going to repeat this exercise until she starts to relax. So I do like this leg yield better than the first leg yield off the right leg. I think she's doing a better job of stepping up and under with her right hind. You can see I've progressed to making the circle 15 meters instead of 20. And then I'm going to ride my down transition. And when I ride the 15-meter circle, I'll just make a straight line from the quarter line to M instead of from the rail to M. So I'm going to push her into a slightly bigger step. I'm hoping to get a little bit more swing in her trot as I change the length of stride there. And with this particular horse, when she's a bit tight and angsty, I just ignore it. Really, the only thing you can do is just sit quiet and let her get over it. And that's one of the joys of retraining horses who have been kind of spoiled or mistreated or whatever the case may be. So as this exercise progresses, I'm hoping to see her swing a little bit more through her back. With her, it's a fine line between working her to the point where she gets tighter and riding a suppling exercise that actually produces more suppleness. So I do like this trot leg yield much better. With more advanced horses, this exercise I think is really useful for the warm-up because you can get the inside hind crossing under the body for the suppleness, and then the canter transition just kind of unlocks the horse's body. So by riding transitions between the gaits, i.e. trot to canter, and transitions within the gait, more forward trot to a more compact trot, you're really helping the horse with the longitudinal suppleness. So even if your horse is more advanced than this exercise, it's a great way to get the horse flowing through its body as you warm up. This exercise is one of my favorites for the younger riders. Kind of that, if we're going to use Pony Club ratings, that D2, D3 stage where they don't really know how to ride a horse on the aids, but they're getting very close. Because with proper coaching, you can really kind of get the horse on the aids through this exercise. I often tell them when the horse starts to run through them to feel like they could halt but don't halt. It's that feeling of the half halt kind of living in the trot. So this is one of the exercises that's really easily adaptable to all different levels and all different riders. What I like about this is Lark does get kind of hot. She's hauling me around a bit here, but she is starting to soften her back a little bit, so you can see in the canter that she's articulating the joints. I wouldn't say that she ever gets like super relaxed, and obviously there we're having a little bit of an issue with I think there was a water bottle on the ground. But frequently here you can see her start to relax a little more. Again, she's quite a tricky mount. She's not a straightforward relaxed horse, so she's a difficult one for me to demonstrate exercises on, but I wanted to choose a horse that was a little like less than cooperative, because realistically that's what we're going to be dealing with at home. So in moments you can see her back start to soften in the canter. She gets quite stabby with the hind leg and then kind of lurches into the down transition when she's tight. So hopefully as we repeat, you can start to see her kind of step more through. So what I do really like is that her transitions from the lengthened trot to the working trot in general are pretty solid. She's such a mare. So you can see, like, when we go from lengthen trot to working trot, you can really kind of see her compress. I think that's a strength. I don't know what she's mad about right here, but something. And then I'm using my seat to kind of try and help her find a rhythm. When she's up and down in the connection, I try not to let her get too low, like there, like that. Just every once in a while, she kind of dives into the contact, and it's quite an unpleasant feeling to ride. I like how the trot's going more forward here. I don't know if you can, and then it gets stabby, but I don't know if you can see in some parts where she flows through more from the hind leg. The inside hind steps farther under instead of being such a short stride. At some point, I changed my circles to 12 meters instead of 15 to ask her to compress the stride a little bit, and I don't know when that happened, so sorry I wasn't paying attention. I do like her trot length in here, and then I like the transition back because you can clearly see the balance shift and the stride compress, and a spook. So I'm riding her out of the exercise here. She gets a little bit fussy the more we do exercises, so I think I decided I was going to go like play with the same idea somewhere else. And she's one that does not like the grass ring. She doesn't like the changes in terrain, so any different colored grass kind of offends her, and the tracks on the ground offend her. So what I do like is that I'm getting some moments of balance with this horse in particular. It's always moments. It's never like we get her where we want her and she stays there. It's just glimpses of what could be. And for those of you who are struggling with that, don't be discouraged. It does get better. Retraining is much harder than initial training for sure. So I'm sorry this isn't as pretty of a picture as we normally have, but it's maybe a little bit more realistic from a training standpoint. Kind of reached the end of Lark's brain here. I think she starts to have a hissy fit, which is normal. Give this exercise a try for different level riders and horses. I think you'll find it's quite useful.